Hey guys, Peter here. In this video I'll be buying 9 tubes of Shuttlecocks, which will all be varying in price, popularity and quality. I'll be rating them from 1 to 10, with 1 being absolutely dreadful and 10 being absolutely outstanding. With each tube of shuttles that I tested, I'd play 3 games of singles with my friend to 21 points. I would look at the flight, control and durability. I would take photos of each shuttle before and after each game so you can see how they got on. Now moving on, I tested 3 tubes of plastic shuttles. Just to note, I did not test the durability of them because we all know that plastic shuttles are known for their durability, so I gave them the same high rating. That I reviewed was the Wilson Championship Club Grade. This is a plastic shuttlecock and was at the cheaper end of the ones that I purchased. I'd rate this a 5.5 overall out of 10. I'd give the flight of the shuttle a 3.8 out of 10. The issue with the shuttle's flight was that it was very hard to lift it to the back and clear it consistently, and it was often landing short. I did a test where I'd hit the 3 plastic shuttles that I tested out, and after doing this a few times I noticed that the Wilson Championship shuttle was consistently landing the shortest. I'd rate the control of the shuttle a 3.9 out of 10. It was very difficult to judge the level of power and angle that you need to play a good shot with this shuttle. On some occasions you could play some shots with some level of accuracy, but it was very inconsistent. Another of the plastic shuttlecocks that I reviewed was the Flyon 650 shuttlecock. This was at the cheaper end of the ones that I purchased, and I'd give it a 5.9 out of 10. I'd rate the flight of the shuttlecock a fairly low 4.2 out of 10. The reason being because it was very hard to generate any power and distance in your lifts and clears to the back of the court. They'd often fall shorter than you expect them to. I'd say the shuttlecock wasn't as fast as the Yonex Mavis 2000. For control, I'd give the fly shuttlecock a 4.6 out of 10. The control was better than the other plastic shuttlecocks tested, but I'd still say it wasn't great. When playing net shots, the shuttlecock would bounce off the strings more than, say, the Yonex Mavis 2000, but when trying to play angles, the control was weak and not as good as the feather shuttlecocks. Yonex Mavis 2000 ones. This is at the cheaper end of all the shuttles that I tested, and I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Reviewing the flight of this Yonex Mavis 2000, I'd give it a 4.8 out of 10. I was not too happy with it. When you try to hit lifts to the back of the court or clears, sometimes they'd fall well short of the back tram lines, and other times they'd go miles out past the back tram lines. The only one redeeming feature of the flight was that it was fairly easy to generate power on your smashes by plastic shuttlecock standards. I'd rate the control of this shuttle a 4.2 out of 10. Now with some good shuttlecocks, you just feel like when you play a net shot it just can bounce delicately off the strings and you have control of the net. With this shuttle it was not the case. You felt like you had to force the shuttle over the net, and controlled shots were unpredictable. Yeah, so I'd give it a 4.2. Another shuttlecock that I reviewed was the Philonext / Shenjie brand. I rated this a 6 out of 10, and this is a feather shuttlecock, and was at the cheaper end of the ones that I bought. I'd rate the flight of the shuttle a 5.5 out of 10. I thought it was okay, it was reasonable. When I looked at the feathers were not as dense as the other brands that I used, and I think this affected the flight because clears and lifts would fall shorter. and it just make your overall game a bit unpredictable. I'd rate the control of the shuttle a 5.1 out of 10. The shuttle felt sluggish and it was really hard to generate any power. It was also hard to play net shots. You really had to feel like you were forcing the shuttle over the net rather than just let it bounce delicately off the strings. I'd give the durability of this shuttle a 7.3 out of 10. Out of the shuttles that we played with, one of them was really damaged, another one was just about still playable, and the final one could have been used again. So overall, on the durability side of things, it just depended on what shuttle you got, and the shuttles in the tube were quite inconsistent. Another of the Yonex brands that I reviewed was the Yonex Aerosensa 10. This is also a feather shuttlecock, and after reviewing it I'd give it a 7.2 out of 10. I'd rate the flight of the shuttle as 6.5 out of 10. When trying to hit lifts and clears to the back of the court, I felt that you had to generate more power than some of the other shuttles, and just generally I felt that it was more sluggish than, say, the Yonex Aerosensa 50 or the Ning A+300. But yeah, the flight was okay. The control was one of the stronger features of the shuttle. I'd rate it 7.3 out of 10. I felt it was fairly easy to play accurate shots and to play different angles. But one drawback to the shuttle was that if you mistimed it, then the shuttle could go anywhere. This shuttle was very durable and I'd give it an overall 7.8 out of 10. The shuttles looked a bit frayed after some of the games, but they were alright and you could still play on with them. This is why I'd recommend buying one of the Aerosensa 10s, just for its durability. Another shuttlecock that I reviewed was the Ning A+300. It's a feather shuttlecock. I'd give this an overall rating of 7.4 out of 10. The flight of the shuttle was good, but I felt it was a bit weaker than some of the others. I felt it was a bit slower than the Ashaway International, Yonex Aerosensa 50 and Victor Gold Champion. Therefore I'd rate the shuttle a 7.1 out of 10 for its flight. Similar to the flight, I thought the shuttle had good control. I found when trying to play tight net shots and flat lifts, it was slightly harder to do than some of the other shuttles that I mentioned. But yeah, overall it was good. I'd rate it a 7.5 out of 10. I was fairly happy with the durability of this shuttlecock. The shuttlecocks did not look that damaged after I played with them, but I thought their flight considerably worse and more than the Ashaway or Victor shuttles after the same amount of use. Overall I'd give the durability a 7.6 out of 10. Another of the shuttlecocks that I tested was the Victor Gold Champion. Now this is a feather shuttlecock. I'd give this a overall rating of 8.6 out of 10. I was impressed by the flight of this Victor shuttlecock. You felt confident when you were hitting your lifts and clears, but because the shuttlecock was so quick, sometimes you're worried about hitting them long of the back line. However, because the shuttlecock was so quick, you're very confident in hitting your smashes. You could hit probably a lot of winners with this shuttlecock because it was so powerful. Overall I give the flight an 8.8 out of 10. When striking the shuttlecock it felt very crisp and clean, and it felt like you had a lot of control. My only slight criticism was that if you mishit the shuttlecock, it wasn't as forgiving as, say, the Ashaway International or the Yonex AS50. I give the overall rating for the control 8.5 out of 10. I was massively impressed by the durability of the Victor Gold Champion, and would say out of all the feather shuttlecocks it was the most durable. After most games, the shuttlecock was still flying well and consistently. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10. Another of the feather shuttlecocks that I tested was the Ashaway International 500. I'd rate this shuttlecock an 8.8 out of 10. I thought the flight of the Ashaway International was excellent. You felt really confident in hitting your lifts and clears right into the back tram lines. But unlike the Victor Gold Champion, you weren't worried about hitting them out. I thought it was just the right speed, not too quick but not too slow. I'd give it a 9.4 out of 10 for flight. I thought the control of the Ashaway shuttle was very good, near perfect. You felt really confident when you were playing net shots and drop shots. I would just say it wasn't quite as good as the Yonex AS50. You weren't as confident playing drop shots. So I give it a 9.2 out of 10. Similar to the Yonex AS10, the Ashaway shuttle was quite hard wearing, with only one of the shuttles suffering badly in the games. The other shuttles used I would happily continue playing with. I'd rate the Ashaway shuttle a 7.8 out of 10 for durability. My favourite shuttlecock out of all the ones I bought was the Yonex Aerosensa 50. With regards to the flight, it felt excellent. You could lift the shuttlecock right to the back of the court on your clears and lifts. The shuttlecock also wasn't too quick, unlike the Victor Gold Champion. So I'd rate the flight a 9.4 out of 10. I'd rate the control of the shuttlecock huge 9.6 out of 10. The control felt superb. You felt very confident in your shot accuracy. When playing net shots, you felt the shuttlecock would just delicately bounce off the strings. Durability wise, I'd rate the AS50 an 8.3 out of 10. Out of the 3 shuttle used, only one was really broken at the end of the 3 games, whilst the other 2 I could even continued on for a 4th game with. I would say the AS50 wasn't as strong as the Victor Gold Champion, but yeah, it was very, very good. Now that we've looked at all those shuttlecocks in detail, let's summarise everything. If you're looking for the most durable feather shuttlecock, the one that lasts the longest, then to go for the Victor Gold Champion. If you're looking for the fastest shuttlecock, the one where you can generate the most power, will be the Victor Gold Champion again. If you're looking for a shuttlecock with the best control, then I'd say go for the Yonex Aerosensa 50. If you're looking for a shuttlecock which is the best flight, then it would be either the Yonex Aerosensa 50 you should go for, or the Ashaway International 500. Summarising the price, the most expensive shuttlecock that you can buy from my list is the Yonex Aerosensa 50. This was also the highest quality, so possibly if you want to pay the most, you get the highest quality back. In second place it was the Victor Gold Champion, and in third place it was the Ning A+ 300. If you're looking to save money, then the cheapest shuttlecocks are firstly the Flyon 650 plastic shuttle. In second place it's the Philonext Shenjie feather shuttlecock, and in third place it's the Wilson Championship shuttle. It appears that deciding which shuttlecock that's best for you is down to your personal preference. If you're looking to save money, then perhaps go for the cheaper shuttlecocks I mentioned in my list. If you're looking to have the best games, then maybe perhaps go for the Yonex Aerosensa 50. If you're confused or need any further advice, then go to the link in my video description below, or you can type in badmintonstats.com to get to my website.